Please welcome Charleston Animal Society board member and Count On 2 news anchor, Carolyn Murray.
Hello, everyone. Hello. Welcome. Welcome, friends. Welcome, family. Thank you so much. Welcome to the 151st annual meeting and life-saving celebration of Charleston Animal Society. It's good to be together again. This organization is really more than just a place. It's a movement that touches hearts and transforms lives. It's something to believe in because here with Charleston Animal Society, we are proof that love, compassion, and dedication can change the world. In just a moment, we have an incredible historic announcement that most of us actually never dared we would be able to say, or even imagine would be possible. A truly transformational moment in our journey to save lives and our journey to save families. But before that, I want to express my deepest gratitude to each of you today. Today, on this Thursday morning, we stand united with a very simple but a very powerful message. And what is our message? Our message is, yes, animals matter. Yes, their lives are important. Their lives are worth fighting for. And together, all of us in this room, we are making a difference. We are saving lives. I also want to acknowledge and honor our distinguished guests. Petco Love President, Suzanne Kogut. South Carolina Attorney General, Alan Wilson. And other top elected officials who sent us special video messages, including Governor Henry McMaster, United States Senator Lindsey Graham, United States Senator Tim Scott, and Congressman Jim Clyburn. Their support and their belief in our mission shows us that we are not alone in this fight. I also want to thank our generous presenting sponsor, Boehringer Ingelheim, maker of NexGuard Plus. We certainly appreciate their support as well. Now, as many of you know, I am not only a member of the board of directors of Charleston Animal Society. If you know me, I am an animal lover. My family's life was completed because of our adoption of two sweet ones. Oh, okay, they must have put the pictures up. Our big boy, Mike, is 14 years old. And as you can see, he's still going strong. His sweetness and his joy, oh my gosh. And then you see the other one, right? Yeah, Kirby, about 7 pounds. Mike is, well, Mike doesn't want us to tell his weight, but Kirby is feisty and smart and loving, and she's a tabby. I know Attorney General Wilson has a tabby too. But as you can see, they love each other. Mike's asking for help. Kirby's asking, you know, why do you have that camera on us, Mom? But I never thought I would be that person who would sleep with my animals, but we absolutely do. They are the joy of our lives. And if you think I'm exaggerating when I talk about our love of our animals, my husband Jimmy's right there. Ask him to see the home screen on his phone. It's not his daughter or his wife. His home screen, the animals. All right. I share my story because We've reached that moment in history, a moment that makes the stories of my family and so many other families possible. A moment that opens the doors for families across South Carolina to experience the unconditional love and transformation that only animals can offer us. So, friends, let's embark on this journey together and take a look and celebrate what we've accomplished together.
I'm Abigail Appleton, Chief Project Officer of No Kill South Carolina, and this is Bay. And we are so excited to announce that after 9 years of hard work from shelters and rescues all across our state, South Carolina is officially a no-kill state.
Hello, this is Governor Henry McMaster, and I want to thank the Charleston Animal Society for its historic and inspirational achievements. You have led the way to humane, loving treatment for our most loyal companions and opened the eyes of thousands to our duty to care for and protect all of God's creatures and the joys of doing so.
Dream big
Work hard,
and never give up
for the only limit to what you can achieve
is the depth of your determination.
You have made our state a better place and our people better people. Congratulations and thank you.
Please welcome No Kill South Carolina Chief Project Officer Abigail Appleton.
Thank you so much. We did it. Oh, I didn't think I was going to cry till later, but it started off right away. That's amazing. We did it. No Kill South Carolina. Now we're all done, right? Of course not. What an incredible achievement this has been, though. For the first time in history, 90% of the animals entering South Carolina shelters and rescues have been saved. What a powerful example of what is possible when shelters and rescues and communities and the people who love animals all unite for a common goal. This is all about the power of community and the power of believing in something that is bigger than ourselves. No Kill South Carolina arose from the No Kill Charleston initiative. In 2013, we built the very first no kill community in the Deep South here in Charleston County. We did it by focusing on leading practices like high-volume spay-neuter, trap, vaccinate, alter, return for community cats, and intensive adoption and fostering programs. But we looked around and realized that we couldn't stand by while thousands of animals continue to perish. Charleston Animal Society is one of the oldest animal protection organizations in America. South Carolina animals are our animals. So in 2015, No Kill South Carolina was born. Suzanne Kogut and Petco Love saw what we were trying to do. They believed in what we were trying to do, and they invested in that vision. I was moved by that vision as well. I moved here from Florida to lead the initiative. I had happened to see the job advertised on a Facebook group I wasn't even part of. I saw it and I thought, that is my job, that is for me. I am coming here to be part of this. But it was a gamble. So not only did we not know if it was possible for our state to become no kill, we didn't know how many animals were entering shelters and rescues. We didn't even know how many shelters and rescues there were out there. So that whole first year of 2016, I spent trying to get a handle on the scope of the challenge. I visited every brick and mortar shelter in the state, talking about the dream of becoming a no-kill state. But what does no-kill actually mean? There are lots of different definitions, but let's talk about what it means for us, for our initiative. We're talking about building no-kill communities. For us, it's not about saying this group is no-kill, that group is not. It's we are no-kill collectively. Because either the whole community is saving lives or they're not. Because we know if an animal in need doesn't enter a particular shelter, it still needs help. And I want to be clear, when we say no-kill, that does not mean never euthanize. Because sometimes euthanasia is the kindest thing that we can do for an animal. No-kill means we're saving every healthy and treatable pet. And that comes out to about 90% of the community animals. Our no-kill South Carolina life-saving rate reflects what's happening in the whole community. Doesn't penalize organizations that are adopting leading practices like home-to-home adoptions that keep animals out of the shelter in the first place. So in the summer of 2017, we had a meeting with about 20 leaders of open admission shelter leaders, open admission animal shelters. It was off the highway in Columbia at a Days Inn. It was very, very much not fancy. Those of you who were there, you can attest to that. But we all sort of stood in a big circle and kind of went around and said, tell us your challenges. And when I had been visiting those shelters over the past year, I had heard over and over again that, no-kill South Carolina, that's a nice idea, but, we do what we can, but that's never gonna happen. The challenges here in our community are just too great. But by the time we got around to the end of that circle in that meeting in Columbia, we all realized we're actually all in the same boat. We're all facing the same challenges together. And I can tell you the exact moment when the tide turned. 3 months later, we met again, and for the first time, we had some actual data. Turned out at that time, we were euthanizing about half of the cats and about 19% of the dogs. Not great, but it really wasn't as bad as we thought. And in that moment, the whole mood changed. Everybody looked around, and we went from hopeless to hopeful. It was 180 degrees. It was like the light came on. Leaders from shelters and counties right next to each other who had never met were suddenly working together and suddenly saw that it was possible. We just needed to believe that it was possible. We needed to believe in each other. We needed to believe in ourselves. In 2021, we drew a line in the sand. South Carolina, our small, rural, southern state, was going to become a no-kill state by 2024. And once again, our friends at Petco Love said, we believe in you. They saw our vision and they issued us a challenge. They said $1 million to South Carolina shelters and rescues if we reach no kill by 2024. And guess what? We did it. South Carolina is the first no-kill state across the southern United States from Atlanta to the Pacific and all across America's heartland. And while we take this moment to celebrate, we know that the work continues to sustain our progress, to ensure that every sheltering organization has the resources it needs, and to keep South Carolina a beacon of hope for animal welfare nationwide. So let's celebrate this achievement today and work even harder tomorrow. It has been my honor and privilege to lead this initiative for the last 9 years, but I'm not the one doing the real work. All the credit for achieving this milestone goes to the amazing shelter and rescue staff and volunteers doing the hard work every single day. And so many of them are here in the room with us today. I would like to invite our South Carolina shelter and rescue workers to please stand and be recognized. You are the reason we are here to celebrate. Your dedication, compassion, and tireless work have made this crazy vision a reality. This achievement is yours, and I am so fortunate to know and stand alongside you. In your honor, Governor McMaster has proclaimed today, May 8th, 2025, No Kill South Carolina Day. So let's take a look at the statewide proclamation from the governor.
Whereas the overpopulation of dogs and cats is a risk to people and animals in South Carolina.
And whereas Charleston Animal Society, the first organization in South Carolina and one of the oldest in the country,
sponsors a statewide initiative called No Kill South Carolina 2024 to reduce the overpopulation and unnecessary euthanasia of dogs and cats.
And whereas the No Kill South Carolina began in 2016 to build a collaborative network of animal shelters, rescue groups, and communities working together to undertake the initiative.
And whereas since the start of this program, the lives of nearly 900,000 dogs and cats have been saved by animal organizations across South Carolina.
And whereas by achieving a no-kill South Carolina life-saving rate of 90% in 2024,
South Carolina has become the first state across the southern United States and America's heartland to attain the milestone of becoming a no-kill state.
Now, therefore, I, Henry Dorgan McMaster, Governor of the great state of South Carolina, do hereby proclaim May 8, 2025
No-Kill South Carolina Day
throughout the state.
And encourage all South Carolinians to recognize the 150th anniversary of Charleston Animal Society and their efforts to humanely control the population of dogs and cats in South Carolina.
Please welcome Charleston Animal Society Board Emeriti and Order of the Palmetto Award recipients Hank and Laurel Greer.
We're really happy to be here, and are you happy? Good. I just found out what emeriti means. It means I don't get paid anymore. But seriously, we're really happy to be here.
And I'm still choked up from happy. This no-kill South Carolina announcement is one for the history books. We could not be more proud of every organization across the state who worked tirelessly together to make this dream come true.
One thing I want to encourage each of you to do is talk to your neighbors, your relatives, whomever. There are animals in shelters that need forever homes. So you can go to a breeder, but I ask you, I beg you not to do that. Go save a life by getting an animal at a shelter.
Did you know that Petco stores across the country only offer dogs and cats from shelters and rescues? This brave decision has helped save countless lives across the country.
You know, speaking of Petco, the charity arm is Petco Love. And we love Petco Love. We love it. Where are you? Oh, I don't even see Suzanne. But anyway, one of the things that I want to bring to your attention, and maybe you don't know it, do you all shop at Petco? Yes. Okay. Do you know when you get your food, your toys, whatever, you go up and you have to pay for them? It happens, you have to pay for them. Have you noticed the little collector up there that says, please donate to Petco Love? Does anybody not contribute to that? And I don't want to see hands because I know you'll be embarrassed. But let me just encourage you to do it because you know what? It saves lives. Petco Love in the last few years has given $400 million. $400 million to organizations like ours which save lives. So this is my challenge to you guys. Next time you're at Petco, and I encourage you to go to Petco, be sure you put your dimes, nickels, no, put your dollars, your fives, your hundreds, put it in that bucket because it does save lives. Okay, so endeth the epistle.
Here in South Carolina, Petco Love has helped organizations from every corner of our state, and they were the financial muscle behind No Kill South Carolina. Their grants funded this incredible program, making today's announcement possible.
You know, one person made this happen. Years ago, probably I think it was 2015, we decided, as Abigail said, we were going to embark on a no-kill objective. We had a lot of people who said, no, you can't do it. The mountain's too high. It's too difficult. You'll never make it. Well, one person, and I could cry now, one person that stood by us was Suzanne Kogut and Petco Love. Against all these people who said you can't do it, year in and year out, she was with us. And we think, how do you recognize somebody that's done that much for the organization? Well, you give them the highest award the organization could possibly give. So today, we are awarding and gifting Suzanne Kogut the Elizabeth Branham Humanitarian Award. And Suzanne, would you please come up and accept our love and our thanks.
Suzanne, since 2013, you have led Petco Love to become a leading force in animal welfare. Your support of Charleston Animal Society has allowed us to think big and achieve goals way beyond our wildest imagination.
So Suzanne, please accept the award. We could not have done it without you. We thank you for everything you do, because bottom line, what you do is save lives.
You guys are lovely. Thank you. So I'm a crier, and so that's really hard to sit up here now and not cry. I'm just warning you, I will be crying at some point. Honestly, just absolutely honored and humbled to be recognized, because in my mind, that the humanitarian award goes to all of you organizations and the people in this room that stood up and that are on the ground saving lives every day. It is the hardest job ever, and I can say that from my own personal experience. I did not grow up saying I wanted to be in animal welfare. I was a corporate securities attorney for a while. My idea of wanting to go into public service was maybe to go work for the SEC. But like everyone, there's a pet that comes into your life and it changes everything. And when I adopted my first 2 dogs, I didn't just adopt them, I then became a volunteer for that group, the Virginia arm. I quit my job. I ran a shelter. Like, it just spiraled out of control from there. And it was the best thing that ever happened to me. But what I learned is that there's such a difference when you're working every day and you're trying to make a client happy, or you're trying to make your boss happy. And when you're working in a shelter, your clients, what you're trying to do is save their lives. They're looking at you, and whether you succeed or not means whether they may live or die. And that type of pressure is unbelievable. So I want to thank all the groups in the room that are working, that have made South Carolina a no-kill state. And so I guess we have some checks to write soon, too. So if you have not gotten a check from that $1 million challenge grant, you still have time. So I want you to make sure you go to your organizations and make sure you get your applications in, because we need to hand out some money. So, yes, right? So I will say that it was easy for us when Joe came to us and said, hey, will you guys, get behind us for creating No-Kill South Carolina? Will Petco Love be the sponsor and supporter? It was easy for us to make that decision, because nothing ever gets achieved without a statement and a goal that you can achieve it. You have to say it's possible. It's what is that mind shift. Before that, people were saying things like, it's impossible. There's too many animals and not enough homes, right? Let's just look at the data. Not true. 86.9 million households own pets, and only 30% of them are getting them from a shelter. It is so possible. And when we say we are going to achieve something, your mind switches from excuses to solutions. You look at things and say, how am I going to find the home for that animal? And yes, I am going to achieve this. So it's always been a motto in my life, solutions, not excuses, and let's always focus on the positive, because we can do this.
But it requires more than just our organizations around the country. It requires all of us. And this is an incredible achievement. I still am always thinking about the fact that we make statements in our country today. There's been study after study that say over 90% of people believe that pets are family. And we talk about in the US, we love our pets. It should be irreconcilable with that we still euthanize animals because we don't have enough space or we don't have enough room. We have to not only say we love our pets, we have to put our love into action. We have to do that every day. And all of you in this room, I'm preaching to the choir, you are putting your love into action every day. But we need to convince others out there, because I don't care if you get your definition of love from the dictionary or the Bible. It is not just an emotion or a feeling. It's about taking action. It is about being kind. It is about protecting those that need protection. Love is something that is much more active than a feeling. I think No Kill South Carolina is actually just a great example of how, in the end, love never fails. So one of the other things is, my day job is about doing everything that I can to help organizations around the country. But also, I do it myself too, because again, I want to do something on a local level to help the animals. So for me, fostering is what I tend to do. And I go back to talking about the possibilities, right? When we say, oh, wait, not yet. But you can leave it up there now. So when we talk about, again, Joe talked about there's different data sets out there. Whether you think it's 1 million animals that are unnecessarily euthanized in this country or less, it doesn't matter. It's still too many. And when we look at, does it have to happen for space? Again, let's just do the math. If just 2% more of American households that own pets, the 86.9 million, would just foster one animal a year, that is 1.7 million. So we shouldn't have to euthanize 1 million for space, right? So yes, I foster, and I foster even though I travel, even though I work a full-time job, and even though I have other animals. And I'm able to make it work. But you know what? It gives me so much joy. I mean, look at those faces. They're adorable, but when I went to the shelter, those puppies were in a small cage, covered in sort of poop and urine, not because anyone wasn't doing their job, just because it wasn't enough space. And it was as simple as putting them in my car, giving them a bath, and giving them a room to run around in, and they were thriving within minutes. And they were supposed to go to bed. That was not bedtime faces, right? Okay, shameless plug, Joe. The blonde one and the black one over there is up for adoption at Charleston Animal Society, so they're the best puppies ever. Go get them. So at the end, we are so excited that we joined you in making South Carolina a no-kill state. Because not only are we so proud we are so proud for what all of you have achieved, but you are now an example for the rest of the country to stop saying we can't do it, to stop saying it's impossible, and to show states around the country that this, in fact, is possible. So we thank you so much for everything that you have done.
Charleston Animal Society had another record-breaking year in 2024. Our 3 key areas of focus continue to be ending unnecessary euthanasia, ending overpopulation of dogs and cats, and ending animal cruelty. We touched the lives of 35,000 animals, especially during the Petco Love Pick Me SC adoption event last July. During the 10-day adoption event, a record-breaking 2,526 dogs and cats from every region of the state found new homes. It continues to be the largest statewide dog and cat adoption event in the country. When we talk about ending overpopulation, our AHA-accredited Sam Greer Spay-Neuter Clinic completed 15,000 surgeries, more than we've ever completed in 1 year in our history. A key strategy in ending cruelty wherever it exists is teaching compassion to our young people. Last year, our humane education team delivered more than 34,000 compassion education lessons to children in schools, summer camps, and other events. These lessons reached 12,000 children.
Your mission goes far beyond sheltering animals. You are shaping the very fabric of our society by instilling empathy and kindness in the next generation.
Charleston Animal Society received a prestigious national award from Best Friends Animal Society because of our life-saving work.
One of the highlights of 2024 was receiving the Touchstone Award from Best Friends Animal Society, one of only 3 organizations nationwide. We were able to save over 2,000 animals in the Florence area. Thank you, Best Friends Animal Society, for making it possible.
Another highlight of 2024 came when board members Hank and Laurel Greer were honored at the State House by Governor Henry McMaster with the state's highest civilian honor, the Order of the Palmetto.
Please welcome Charleston Animal Society Board Chairman Martin Deputy.
Hello everyone, thanks for coming this afternoon. I want to thank you all for being here on this historic day, No Kill South Carolina Day. Woo-woo! We made it. It's an incredible milestone, not just for this organization, but for the entire state. One dear to me, and it's one of the main reasons I joined the board 8 years ago. As Abby mentioned earlier, we had a proud celebration and a vision that turned into reality. South Carolina became a no-kill state. That means 90% of animals entering shelters across South Carolina are being saved. But looking back over these last 12 months, 2024, our sesquicentennial, 150 years of the Charleston Animal Society, and what a year it was. Founded in 1874, South Carolina's first animal organization and one of the oldest in North America. At the same time, setting new records, raising the bar for animal welfare nationwide. Let's go back to the annual meeting in 1910 to show you just how hard and how long we've been fighting for animals. At that meeting, President Alwyn Bell reported there were 15 cases of animal cruelty on horses, mules that were prosecuted. 14 were found guilty. Another 127 horse, mule owners received citations, and sadly, 17 were not saved and euthanized. I bring up this to show you that we have carried this legacy by speaking out as a voice for animals for more than 150 years, and we will continue to be their champions. Throughout 2024, we lived out our mission not by ceremony, but by action. Our incredible spay and neuter team completed a record-setting 15,000 surgeries, preventing countless of unwanted litters, giving so many animals a second chance by preparing them for adoption. Our Petco Love Pick Me South Carolina adoption event placed 2,526 animals into loving homes in 10 days. Imagine that. This was one of the largest of its kind in the country, and we're setting our sights for even greater for this year. I hope many of you made Paws in the Park in November. We had over 2,500 animal lovers celebrate 150 years of caring, compassion, and hope. The life-saving work is why the Charleston Animal Society has been honored by the Touchstone Award by the Best Friends Animal Society. One of just 3 organizations in the country to receive this distinction. It recognizes shelters that have made the greatest strides to a no-kill nation, and I am proud to say that we'll get, while also setting the standard for excellence that others will follow. We continue to be top-rated nonprofit. This is Joe and his group here. For 13 consecutive years, we've been the top nonprofit. This is a recognition of their unwavering commitment to transparency, ethics, and the highest standard of animal care. Did you know that the Charleston Animal Society has more certified animal care administrators than any other organization? That's across the U.S. These leaders have undergone rigorous training and testing to ensure the highest level of professionalism and work that they do every day. As a good friend of mine, Joe Elmore, always says, and I'm going to steal his line today, quote, "Most organizations reflect on problems, but the Charleston Animal Society solves them." That's exactly what we've done, and that's what we're going to continue to do. Because the organization is only as strong as the people behind it, we are blessed. Volunteers, donors, adopters. You're the reason we are standing here today. We're stronger than ever, whether you fostered a litter of kittens, donated to the cause, or adopted your best friend. You have made this vision possible. You are the Charleston Animal Society. Since our humble beginnings in 1874, this is to the proud moment in 2025. You've been there every step of the way. Today, we don't celebrate a milestone, we celebrate you. When I look forward to the work ahead, I know that when animals in our community need us, we will rise to the occasion. It is now time to remember some superstars that have left us this year. Some of you might remember Caitlin, a dog that became the face of anti-cruelty around the world after her muzzle was taped shut. Her case was prosecuted by Ted Corvey, a man who would eventually adopt her and give her a life she deserved. We also had Louie, a handsome Labrador tripod who had a tough beginning when he was hit by a car and lost a leg. But that didn't stop him. He was adopted by Dee Del Toro, who runs an incredible animal education program. Before his passing, it is estimated that Louie helped, unbelievably, 90,000 compassion education lessons in the 14 years on Earth. On a personal note, I always remember him. He's always in a little wheelbarrow and everything, and I just love that he always had a Superman cape on. I thought that to be very appropriate. Well, thank you all for allowing me to speak at this wonderful organization. Now let's take a look at the impact that Louie and Caitlin had on us.
Her legacy will be hope for animals throughout the world. You know, it's obvious that the person who did this, he wanted to silence Caitlin. He wanted to stop her barking, and he taped her muzzle shut, and she got away from him. And what he inadvertently did was put her in a situation where she had the loudest voice on the planet.
An update for you tonight, Caitlin the dog.
She's featured as the best survival story of 2015.
Because I feel like we literally just scored the biggest guest on this show ever.
When the case first started happening, people, every time they'd meet her, they're like, oh, I thought she was so much bigger. It's because they were seeing these big magazine spreads, these full-page spreads, and they thought she was this massive dog, and she really, literally was larger than life. So I will say Caitlin's always been a diva. Whether or not she knew she was a celebrity or not, it's up in the air, but she definitely liked being treated like one.
I think I'm just grateful that we have a community who looks at animal cruelty and says no.
She just wanted to live, and she just wanted to love and be loved.
She was blessed, and the family was blessed also when Ted and Danielle Corvey brought Caitlin into her home as a permanent home. And of course, as you know, Ted was the solicitor that went after Caitlin's abuser, took this case on, and just never relinquished his effort and zeal for justice for Caitlin.
I just want people to know that they can be a voice for an animal that is suffering, that is being abused, and that there can be a happy ending.
Well, when Louis walks in a classroom, nobody cultivates compassion like him. He hops in on his 3 legs and all the kids are like, oh, he only has 1 leg. Explain, no, he's missing 1 leg, but that he can do everything a 4-legged dog can do. And I'll show a video of him swimming when he was younger and running on the beach, and they're just amazed. But then they realize that it's kind of cool to be different.
He truly embodies everything we do here at the shelter from start to finish. And he came here and needed a lot of medical attention. He had an embedded collar, he had heartworms, he needed a leg amputation. That was 13 years ago. Most shelters wouldn't have even been able to give the medical care that Louis needed to save him, and Charleston Animal Society did. Charleston Animal Society gave back to him by saving his life. Now he's giving back to us by helping kids through our program, so he truly embodies everything that we do here.
Years and years of camp, our vet camps, countless physical exams, the kids listening to his heart over year after year after year, and he's just so patient. He is a very patient dog. I think his legacy is kind of what Charleston Animal Society teaches: resilience, determination, and the power of second chances.
Please welcome Charleston Animal Society board member William Ash.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. Let me take you back to our organization's first constitution that was written back in the 1880s. Article 1 read as follows: the title of the society is the South Carolina Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals. While our name has changed, our mission to prevent cruelty has never wavered. At Charleston Animal Society, we know that protecting animals from cruelty isn't just a moral responsibility, it's a matter of justice. And this afternoon, we are honored to be joined by the one person who has the power to make this fight a priority in our state. Attorney General Alan Wilson has been in office since 2010. The proud owner of a German Shepherd named Lucy and a gray tabby named Danger, you know he can relate to the passion behind our anti-cruelty mission. Please join me in welcoming South Carolina's Attorney General, Alan Wilson.
First off, put that picture back up. A couple stories I want to tell just to warm y'all up to me a little bit before we get into the good stuff. So my wife is out of town, and the other night I was walking up the stairs to go to bed. It was the last, the kids were already asleep, and I walked up, and I was standing on the stairs, and I just saw both of them watching me as I walked up the stairs. And I took that picture literally, I think 2 nights ago, maybe 3 nights ago. And honestly, when we go to bed, they own the house. I mean, and they play, you can hear them downstairs jumping on the couch, and so they were just waiting for me to cut the lights off upstairs so the party could begin. You look at this photo right here. I was never a cat person. I'm gonna say it straight up. Now, there's a happy ending to what I'm about to say, but I was not a cat person for this fundamental reason. And look at that picture up there. There is a fundamental difference between a cat and a dog. At least that's what I have believed for my entire life. A dog looks at you, and a dog says, "You feed me, you love me, you house me, you must be a god." A cat looks at you and says, "You feed me, you house me, you love me, I must be a god." Am I right? Fundamental difference. That's the difference between cats and dogs. Well, and Danger is a typical cat. Now, I will say this. A couple of years ago, I was in this small trial. I've been staying down there in Walterboro, South Carolina for 6 weeks. You might have heard about it, Alex Murdaugh. And I would come home on the weekends to do laundry and go back. For 6 weeks, that was my life. And I get a call, like in the middle of the trial. My wife says, hey, Anna Grace is going, our daughter, Anna Grace, she was, I think, 13 at the time. Anna Grace wants to go shadow the veterinarian clinic here in Lexington. And she wants to do that because she's interested in being a veterinarian. I said, that's great. So she goes, we just need to sign off on it, and she's gonna go spend the day at the vet clinic instead of going to school. A day or two later, I get a call from my wife, and she says, okay, Anna Grace was shadowing the vet that day, and they brought in a young tabby cat who had had its leg mangled, and they'd had to amputate the leg. And she said, she goes, Anna Grace was assigned to this cat, to rehab this cat all day long and play with this cat, and she now wants to adopt the cat. And I said, no, we are not adapting. I mean, we have a German Shepherd. We're good. We're good. She goes, and I said, Jennifer, you're allergic to cats. She goes, I know. And so a day or two later, she calls me back. She says, listen, Anna Grace wants me to come by and meet the cat. I said, that's fine, meet the cat, but you're allergic. My wife went and met the cat, and needless to say, a couple of weeks goes by, I get home, and the cat's at the house. My daughter had done a PowerPoint presentation on why this, she did a PowerPoint presentation. And she did a presentation, if you feed the cat certain food, mom won't sneeze and get upset. Now, my wife is a breast cancer survivor and did a double mastectomy when she was going through that treatment. And I remember, I said, what happened to you? I thought you were on my team. I thought you were on my team. And she looked at me and she says, I saw that cat missing a leg. And I said, you lost your leg, I lost my boobs. I had to give you a home. And the vet, I called the vet, right? And I called the vet that actually my daughter shadowed, and I said, I don't know what I'm gonna do, but I'm gonna find a way to indict you one day. He's a friend of mine. And I said, a three-legged cat? Now I'm married to a three-legged cat. And he said, let me tell you something about cats and dogs. They really are three-legged animals with a spare. God gave them a spare. They'll be fine. And he said, you know what? You're the one person in that family that does not want that cat. You're the one person that cat is going to imprint on. And I can tell you right now, that cat, I'm a cat person now. Every night he's on my lap. One other story about my wife. She was not an animal person growing up. She is an animal person now, but she was an only child, grew up in New Jersey. She was a TV news anchor at WIS. That's where we met years ago, about 20 plus years ago. And I remember we'd been dating about 6 months. And I remember I was coming home from work one day and I went by the shelter and I just said, what do you get a girl you've been dating for 6 months that works weird hours and lives in a 700 square foot studio apartment? Let's get him a mutt. So I adopted a dog that I named Nathaniel. We called him Nate for short. And it was the night, she got off work at midnight. She did the 11 o'clock report and she came by my apartment afterwards. And I remember I had this dog on the couch with me under a blanket. And she walked, I called her, I said, I want you to come by my house at 12:01 because I want to be the first person to say happy birthday to you. So she came by my house at right after midnight when she got off work. And when she walked in the front door, I pulled the blanket off. This is my girlfriend of 6 months, okay? I pulled the blanket off and there's this cowering dog just trembling because he was terrified. And she goes, what the hell is that? I said, that's your new dog. She goes, that's not my dog. And I said, this is your dog. And I said, come. And she ended up playing with the dog that night. And the next morning she came, she picked him up, she took him. And she goes, okay, I'll give it a trial run. 4 or 5 days later, I get a call from her. She is crying, she is hysterical, she is angry, she is yelling at me on the phone. She says, I want you to come get this dog and I want you to throw him in the river. And I said, what happened? She goes, he chewed up my Louis Vuitton, he chewed on my couch, he's torn up the carpet. I want you to take him and throw him in the river. Now she wasn't being serious, she was angry. And then she calls me back a couple hours and she's like, have you boxed up all of his stuff and got him, are you taking him back to the shelter? And I said, yes, dear, I'm doing that. And then she calls me back a few hours later and she says, now you're gonna keep him for the weekend, right? So I don't have to look at him. Now we've gone from throw him in the river, okay, to are you taking him back forever, to are you gonna keep him for the weekend? She got off work that night. She came in, her Amazon package of his dog bed arrived. It had been, they had embroidered it. And she was like, hey, Nate. And he was wagging his tail and they were rolling around on the floor and she took him home that night. And he lived with us for nearly 14 years and he passed. But he went through a marriage, 3 statewide campaigns, a combat tour in Iraq and 2 children. And he brought a lot of love and joy to our life. And then 2 years after we lost, and I held his paw when he took his last breath. And it took me 2 years to be able to get another dog, and we went and got Lucy, and then she now has a 3-legged younger brother named Danger. So that's the Wilson family, everybody. Suzanne, I like the remarks that you said earlier. You talked about love, and what I think about the word love. Love is something that people throw around. You know, I love those boots. I love that movie. I love that person. I love that. You know, love is a great word to say, but love without action is useless, right? Can I say amen? Right? Love without action is useless, and that's why organizations like this organization are so important, because it gives a vehicle for you to channel your love into real action that can make a real difference. I want to talk about some of the things as Attorney General that I have been involved in. You know, and as you all know, I am an animal person, but I have seen some of the worst that society has to offer. You saw that dog with his snout had been taped up and how it had just, you know, deformed him. And I have been in the Attorney General's office as your Attorney General now 14 and a half years. I served 2 years as an assistant prosecutor in a section that prosecuted a lot of animal abuse cases. Just last month, our office received a case from the State Law Enforcement Division. It was a multi-county. It was up in Dillon and Marlboro. I don't know if you heard about this, but it was 160 or 159 dogs in a dog fighting rink. And we arrested, and I am going to indict 11 people involved in that rink, and we're going to prosecute them to the fullest extent of the law. There were drugs, there were guns, there were other illicit activities going on, but one of my prosecutors actually went on the 2 raids that busted up this dog prosecution, this dog fighting rink, and she was there, and she said, she was like, General Wilson, what I saw was just unbelievable. She says that the dogs were malnourished, they had been abused, they were beaten, they were bloody. Some of them had been raised to be killers, and it was questionable whether they could even be rehabilitated. And ASPCA came in after we had done the bust, and they had arrested a number of these people involved in this rink. And they were taken to Ohio to the headquarters up there, and I understand that they're trying to rehab most of the animals. They're trying to give them a second chance. They're giving them the medical care that they were deprived of, and they were just doing everything that they can right now, and that's the last word I got. But, you know, us going out there with law enforcement and kicking in doors and grabbing these horrible human beings who are doing these horrible things to animals, you know, that's treating the symptom. That's not addressing the cause. That's why I think education is so important. We can do our part and enforce the laws that are on the books, okay? And that's what we want to do. We want to enforce the laws that are on the books, but the laws can always be better. The ability for us to go after some of these people out there that are hurting animals can be better. But it's not just about changing the laws to let us go after people who abuse animals, but there's other policies that we need to address. You know, one of the things I'm very passionate about is our Violence Against Women Task Force in the Attorney General's office. We work with local and rural prosecutors and law enforcement agencies all over the state, and we prosecute cases involving, you know, domestic abuse. And every year, if you come to the silent witness ceremony, you'll see the silhouettes of the men and women who lost their lives in that domestic partnership or relationship in the previous year. And it's very sad. It's just, it'll make your eyes water as much as these pictures of these animals being abused will. One of the things I've spoken to victims over the years, and there are lots of reasons. You know, you always, when you're prosecuting a case involving domestic abuse, I have heard everything. Why did the woman, or in some cases the man, but usually it's the woman, why did the woman stay in that relationship as long as she did? You know, she was beaten multiple times. And some of the normal answers I heard were, you know, well, she had children with the men, and she didn't want to leave children with the man, or maybe she didn't have education, she didn't have any job experience. They'd gotten married when they were 17, and he was the provider. She didn't have a way to get away. She didn't want to leave her children. Some victims have even said, I didn't leave because I loved him, and he kept saying he'd change. But the one that stuck out to me was, we've actually heard from some victims that they stayed in the relationship because they didn't want to leave their animals in that relationship. And one case, one woman said that the shelter that was going to take me in couldn't take animals. So she stayed in the abusive relationship because she wasn't going to leave her dog and go to that shelter. And so that kind of stuck out in my mind that, you know, there's things you don't think about, how people love their animals. They are members of their family. And they will suffer abuse and all manner of atrocity because they don't want to leave. They don't want to leave their human babies, but they don't want to leave their fur babies either. And so if there's ways that we can, educate shelters and make it possible for people to house animals, have a program where animals with battered and abused victims, people with victims of violent crimes, can keep their animals somewhere while they're going through the criminal justice system. It might be a forever home, it might be a for right now home, but that is one example of things that we can do together. When we were talking earlier, you and I were talking, Joe and I were talking, and what the question that I was asked to ask you, or maybe that you want to ask me, is what can we do to help you, Alan Wilson? And I'll tell you right now, one thing, when you go, today is the last day of the legislative session, okay? And I'm happy to see them come in January. I'm happy to see them go in May. But when they do come, I can tell you right now, I'm looking at a very large room full of people who are committed, and it's a very diverse room, probably people from different faiths, different political perspectives, different areas of the state, just different careers. I mean, we're all very different, but we're all unified in something. And I can tell you the most successful legislations, the most successful movements begin when people show up at the State House and people call their House members, people call their senators about issues that are important to them. And I'll make a commitment to all of you today. Anytime you need a place to work out of when you come to the State House to lobby for a bill, you can use the Attorney General's office. It's right there next to the State House. I'll give you an office. I'll give you a place to sit and work. If you want to use the office of the Attorney General as a bully pulpit to advocate for laws, rules, policies, protocols, whatever you want to call it, that will benefit our society by protecting animals, then I'm a partner with this organization. I'm a partner with each and every one of you. If you want to use us to do press conferences in our office, we'll give you that. If you think that there is a law in the books that is insufficient or inadequate to accomplish the objectives you believe that are necessary for this state, then come talk to us about it. Come educate us on it, and then we'll jump on board and we'll support the initiative. We'll call legislators with you. We'll get in the trenches with you. But I promise you right now, squeaky wheel gets the grease in Columbia. I'm sure it does in Washington, but in Columbia, the squeaky wheel gets the grease. And I see a lot of people in here squeaking today, and that is a good thing. Love without action is no good, but love coupled with action is a very powerful thing, and it can make a huge difference. So I see him walking up, so I'm going to start walking off stage. Y'all come on up. I want to thank all of you so much. God bless you, and come visit us in Columbia.
Thank you so much, Attorney General Wilson. I want to personally thank you and thank you on behalf of the board for the support and continued support of our mission and what this society does. And on behalf of the Charleston Animal Society, I have a couple gifts for Lucy and for Danger for you. So, happy dog and cat.
If this is for the animals, I don't know if I have to report this to the Ethics Commission, so, okay.
That will be our little secret.
What a sesquicentennial year it was. Throughout 2024, we were sure to incorporate the 150th anniversary of Charleston Animal Society into each of our major events.
From our annual meeting in the spring to the gala and pause in the park in the fall, we share the nostalgia and history of our organization that began back in 1874.
In 1874, when working animals like horses and cattle were needlessly subjected to suffering, we said these animals deserved better. And the South Carolina Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals was born.
Our dedication to making the lives of animals better has never wavered.
Congratulations on 150 successful years having strong impact, saving lives. God bless your efforts. Continue your efforts. Thank you so much for preserving and keeping Charleston County at the top of all animal societies around the country. We are so proud of all of you. 150 years. May the good Lord bless the 150 more years.
In July, a flag flew over the U.S. Capitol to commemorate our 150th anniversary.
For a century and a half, this remarkable institution has stood as a beacon of compassion, justice, and community in our great state. As South Carolina's very first animal protection organization, and now its largest, Charleston Animal Society has led with purpose and principle. It has championed the voiceless, protected the vulnerable, and cultivated a culture of care that uplifts both animals and people.
Be sure to pick up our commemorative magazine before you leave today.
It's a historical record of a life-saving organization that has survived hurricanes, earthquakes, economic upheaval, and wars.
Happy anniversary, everybody. Lindsey Graham here. Sorry I can't be with you. 150 years is pretty impressive. You don't look a day over 40. But what you've been doing for these last 150 years is awesome, caring for animals that would not be cared for without you. It shows the heart and soul of the Charleston community. To all those involved who made this happen, congratulations and well done.
Please welcome Charleston Animal Society President and CEO, Joe Elmore.
Well, that's all, folks. Wow, that's, I am so proud. I'm so proud of each and every one of you. You're the champions. As Abby said, Abby came up, we had this initiative that was just approved. And even though Suzanne said it was easy for us, well, it wasn't easy for me making the case, but we did make the case. And then we advertised the position. And this young woman who was from Florida came up, and as Abby mentioned to you, pretty much made the case to me that she is going to run this project and that we're going to hire her. And it's one of the best decisions I've ever made in my life. But good afternoon. I want to thank Behringer Ingelheim, and I'm not sure if Andrew is here. The BI folks are here. Oh, okay. All right. Thank you all so much for sponsoring this. The great thing about working in the nonprofit field and working for boards of directors is that the way I proposed this was that we would charge for the luncheon, and the board, responded to me, well, no, we're not going to charge for the luncheon. Go out there and find the money. And I got to thank our staffer, Danielle Zuck, who went out there and found the money with our friends from BI, Behringer Ingelheim, and thank you for making this luncheon possible. And thank you all of the organizations that have come in from around the state, all of the guests that have drove in from around the state. I mean, we have the leadership of the Better Business Bureau here up in Columbia. A number of folks from Columbia have come down. The upstate, the Midlands, the PD region, Lower Savannah, the Upper Savannah regions have come in here for this. And then we've had people fly in from out of state. Reunited with one of our former interns who just flew in from California. This is important. This is important. Y'all are important. I want to thank Dan Crossy and Christina Guillermo on our staff for leading the effort in organizing this event, as they have done in events past. And so I asked Dan, and Dan and I have known each other for 20 years, okay, Dan, this is the 150th. This is the achievement of No Kill South Carolina. This is, our board chair started in the first year, and then now he's board chair, and it culminates. I said, all of this is just so serendipitous and everything. What should my theme be? What do you think? And, he looked at, we've known each other for 20 years, and he said, well, how about still single after all these years? I said, no. I said, no, you wise guy. Yeah, we got a lot of wise guys on staff, but it's good. It's good because we challenge each other and everything. And talking with different folks and everything, and just kind of sitting back and seeing all the young folks that have grown into these positions of leadership, not only with Charleston Animal Society, but with but nationally, giving webinars and presentations at conferences. Just so proud to see all of them and everything. Even Abby, when she came in 9 or 10 years ago, to head up this project. Abby was kind of timid and that type of thing, and she has just grown into this position. Let me tell you, the folks that we have had working and organizing our efforts to stand shoulder to shoulder with organizations across the entire state, were amazing. No judgment going in. We're all in this together. We're sharing the foxhole, so to speak. In addition to Abby, and Martin mentioned this, but we have Becca Boronat, who was, Abby's right arm there for a number of years. And then, we kind of grow the leadership in the country. I don't know if a lot of you know this. And they go off to other national organizations and everything. Well, that's okay. That's okay. We grow them down here in South Carolina and everything. Danielle Zuck, we had a gap there for a while. We had to, plug and play someone. Danielle Zuck, came to the organization, and she just went right in, fit right in with helping Abby organize Pick Me SC. And I know a number of you know this, but Pick Me SC, again, sponsored by Petco Love, is the largest annual statewide dog and cat adoption event in this entire country, and we're about to do the 8th one coming up. So for 7 years, we hold that record. When I say we, I mean all of us, our entire community. The state of South Carolina holds that record because we are able to really mobilize herd cats, so to speak, of all the organizations across the state. I was telling Suzanne last night that, metropolitan Houston has a larger population than the entire state of South Carolina. But metropolitan Houston, when they pull off one of these adoption events, they only have to deal with one media market. We have to deal with 7 different media markets, some of them out of state, that cover South Carolina. That's hard. And even though our friends out in the state of Texas and the state of Florida have tried to knock us off that #1 position, they haven't done it yet. They haven't done it yet. I shouldn't even say it. They haven't done it, I want to thank the Attorney General for coming down here. And I'm just going to tell you something. It's, we reach out on these annual meetings, and this is our 151st celebration, and we tie it into an annual meeting, and we're committed not to sit up here and, just read financial reports to you and that type of thing. A lot of times we extend invitations to a number of folks and we just don't get answers back. And we get real anxious and everything because we have to time things. We have to get a venue in this area during wedding season, which just makes you really, really nervous. It's like not having space for the animals in the shelters. Try to do something in the spring or summer in Charleston, and trust me, there's no space. I want to thank our friends at Trident Tech and everything. But we extended an invitation to the Attorney General. The next day, we got a response. Yeah, I'll do it and everything. But thank you for your love, care, and concern for animals. Thank you for that commitment. You didn't have to make that commitment to us. Trust me, though, we're recording this. We've got your commitment to us. We'll hold you to that as we come up to Columbia. But as the Attorney General said, we need to build these relationships with our local members of the legislature, those in both the House and the Senate. We need to solidify those relationships because it's not a Democratic issue. It's not a Republican issue. These animals, when they look up with those adoring, innocent eyes to us, that love for us, they don't look at us with, what are your political views on Donald Trump? Or, what do you think about, Barack Obama or that kind of thing? They don't do that. They just love us. They just see us as their lives and everything. This is not a Democrat or Republican issue. The love of animals is a basic humanitarian issue. It's a trait of what Suzanne said. 90% of Americans love their animals. We consider our animals members of our family. And all of these, we went up to Washington, D.C. Last summer, and to take the case for animals up there. Why? Because we have as Charleston Animal Society, we have a disproportionate responsibility to carry their voice and the voices of animal organizations across our entire state to not only our local legislators, but our federal legislators as well. So I want to thank U.S. Congressman Jim Clyburn, who met with us up in D.C. I want to thank United States Senator Lindsey Graham, who met with us, United States Senator Tim Scott, who met with us, and for their congratulations and recognition of this noble cause and all. I'd like to thank Governor Henry McMaster as well for recognizing this noble cause, because we all love animals. All of us humans love animals. In recognizing the culmination of this no-kill South Carolina achievement, it's really one of the greatest achievements in the history of the animal protection movement. And the culmination of the 150th anniversary of Charleston Animal Society, is not only, we say, one of the oldest animal organizations in the country. This is one of the oldest animal organizations in the entire Western Hemisphere. Yes, we have a disproportionate responsibility. I want to shift, though, to the power of belief, because I'll probably still be single for many years to come. So I'm going to shift my theme as the power of belief. Dreams cannot be reached. Milestones cannot be attained. This is a milestone without someone believing in us. We had a dream with a clear focus. We developed a plan with research-based and data-driven strategies and tactics. And we needed to pursue it with good old-fashioned, dogged South Carolina determination. Determination is the tricky one, though. How could we be determined if we really didn't have the resources? So we made our case to Petco Love. And Suzanne was familiar with us, but really didn't know us that well. But we made our case for support. And she took a risk, and it was a risk. It was a risk. It was a large grant, multi-year grant over many years. And she believed in us. That was the most important thing. She believed in us. And has ever since. With Petco Love standing shoulder to shoulder with us, it has allowed us to stand shoulder to shoulder with all of those animal organizations that stood up earlier here and that have come in from around our state. We're all comrades in arms. We're all comrades in arms fighting this battle every day. And many of those organizations across the state shared with us that even though they have made the case to their leadership that things could change, we can change our community. They didn't believe in them. And we've been able to believe in them. And that belief is what drives determination. Suzanne and Petco Love believed in us, and it allowed us to believe in them with action, with real action. And it also allowed for others, or drew others into believing in us. And I'm not just talking about Charleston Animal Society, I'm talking about the state of South Carolina. And I want to recognize our friends at Best Friends Animal Society, whom you saw earlier when Martin announced that we were one of the 3 organizations that won this National Touchstone Award back in February. Let me tell you a little bit about those 3 organizations. There's only one of those organizations that was east of the Rockies, and that was Charleston Animal Society. And we're just even more proud of that, very proud of that. But Best Friends Animal Society has invested over $2 million in the state of South Carolina. Their dream is even larger, to organize the building of America as a no-kill nation. Folks that work at Best Friends are folks that used to work at Charleston Animal Society, used to work at a number of shelters across the country. These are folks that have risen and come up from being boots on the ground on the front lines. There's a number of organizations out there that talk a lot about problems and everything. There are a few organizations that back that talk up with the walk. Best Friends Animal Society is one of those. And it's imperative for us, building this no-kill state, to support, with our disproportionate responsibility, to support Best Friends Animal Society in organizing the building of America as a no-kill nation. And John, Jessica, and Becca, will you stand up? We all stand up. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you on behalf of all South Carolinians for investing over $2 million in the state of South Carolina. Thank you. Taking in over 10,000 animals last year into our direct care Now, keeping in mind, we have about 700 animals in our care right now, today. Along with spaying and neutering over 15,000 animals last year across, and I believe it was across not only our Tri-County area, but inclusive of about upwards of 15 different counties around the entire state at different times of the year to clear the backlog of animals in those shelters, because the longer an animal is going to stay in a shelter, it will eventually deteriorate to the point where an end-of-life decision has to be made. So it's imperative on us to get those animals out of shelters as quickly as possible. And our staff and volunteers also were deployed to different animal organizations across the state. These are some of the things that Abby's team does. Those animals that are in the most at-risk predicaments, meaning they're on that track to euthanasia, typically because of a lack of space. But we dispatched our volunteers and vehicles and assets and our staff to do behavior assessments, to find those animals and get them up to our friends in New England regularly. I think we have 3 transports scheduled for the rest of this month, if I'm not mistaken, and everything. This is one of the reasons why I'm so proud of our board of directors, because when we reached the mountaintop in 2013, it wasn't long after that the board of directors adopted a guiding principle, the guiding principle of disproportionate responsibility. And that is that we have that if there is an animal in need anywhere, and we have the capacity to help that animal, we will. No ifs, ands, or buts, we will. And also, in addition to those 10,000 animals that came into the sheltering system, into our custody, and the 15,000 plus spays and neuters, the over 5,000 adoptions, the 12,000 kids that we were able to teach compassion to. And I think Congressman Clyburn said it best of how important teaching empathy is to our children. And hopefully with all the social media influencing that they're doing, our children, maybe they can influence others with that compassion. But we can't leave our children to their own devices, particularly in this day and age with social media. There are so many of you from over the years that when we needed you most, you jumped in to help. And there have been many struggles, many times where we were at the breaking point. And there's just not enough time to go table by table to point out every one of you. But I want to point out one example of a partner that we can rely on. And I'm telling you, there were times when we just were bottlenecked with animals, and we couldn't move animals. We had to move animals. We didn't have the funding for it. And we would call our friends at Cruz Subaru. And Robert Cruz, another animal lover, but also supports so many different causes locally and everything. Well, Ken French has been the linchpin for that. And when when our foxhole is being threatened, we rely on calling Ken to help us out. And Ken, will you stand up? Ken, you do. Each and every time, he's there when we need him. The shelter is supported by the rescue groups, the boots on the ground lifesavers can only be champions for our animals with determination, driven by your belief and support. Okay? Belief drives determination. Charleston Animal Society is open today, as it is every day, and there's a number of our staff that would love to be here. But our surgeons are performing spays and neuters right now. They're caring for the 700 animals in our system of care right now. If we're not spaying and neuter those animals, particularly with this national veterinary shortage crisis, then we know shelters around the state are not going to get those animals spayed or neutered. That's determination. We've entered spring. Adoptions are low. The nation's facing this adoption crisis with larger dogs coming into shelters. Our adoption staff and volunteers, they don't want to miss a day, an opportunity to place those animals into homes. That's determination. Our animal care and animal resource staff, it's kitten season. Kittens are coming in, but also lost animals need to be reunited. staff and volunteers don't want to miss one day of an opportunity to reunite a family with its loved ones. That is determination, and I'm so proud of all of them for that. Yes, we reached a milestone, and it will continue to be a struggle to sustain it. As I mentioned to some media earlier this morning, that, I mean, just ask the Philadelphia Eagles. Okay, you won a Super Bowl, how hard it will be to repeat that Super Bowl. It's gonna be hard, and that's why we need your continued belief and support. We need you to communicate to others that this is not a one and done. It's not like you make it and then you rest on your laurels. And we need to recognize that there are still pockets within our state that are suffering, not only struggling. We're all struggling to place animals, to find space for animals, but there are still pockets in our state that are suffering, and we've got to reach out and help them reach this milestone too. And we've had to stand up to bullies along the way, and this again supports the guiding principle of disproportionate responsibility. It's like the kid on the playground getting beat up by the gang of kids every day until someone steps in and takes up for that kid. That's the way I view Charleston Animal Society. A lot of organizations caring for a tremendous amount of animals look to us to stand up to the bullies. We have done so much and will continue to do so much with integrity. Something absent in bullies. Much work remains. The fight continues. Suzanne and I was talking last night. Suzanne's looking at retirement, about to retire. She was asking me about my plans, and I said, no, I still got fight left in me, and I still want to fight. And I take my inspiration from her because she is a fighter. Let me tell you the fights that she's been in. Today, though, let's celebrate. For the champions in this room and on the front lines, all of you that traveled here today, even though you're going to go back and there's going to be a ton of work remaining on your plates, let's celebrate No Kill South Carolina Day across our entire state. Let's celebrate being South Carolina's top-rated nonprofit among 30,000 nonprofits active or operating in South Carolina, according to the IRS. And you know the IRS knows everything. Not just once. Once is amazing, but for 13 consecutive years. Let's celebrate what your Charleston Animal Society has achieved over the past 150 years and dream what we can achieve moving forward. Let's continue dreaming. We will remain focused. We will remain strategic. And you better believe we will remain determined because I know, your belief is here to stay. And because of that power of your belief, which is unrestrainable, unmatchable, it's unstoppable, the power of belief. That is what drives us to be the champions for animals. Thank you for your belief in me as your chief executive of your Charleston Animal Society. God bless you and the animals that you care for.
Please welcome Charleston Animal Society board member Luigi Bravo.
Good afternoon. On September 27 last year, Hurricane Helene made her way from the Gulf of Mexico through Georgia, South Carolina, into the mountains of North Carolina. During this tragedy, animal shelters and rescues were also surprised and devastated. Many of you contacted the Charleston Animal Society to ask how you can help. In addition to water and other supplies that were delivered to North Carolina shelters in the days following the hurricane, you also donated more than $11,000 to the relief efforts. Recently, my fellow board member, Louis Palmer, went to this organization to see how they were doing and to give them the money you very kindly donated.
Thanks, Luigi. All the animals are doing so well in North Carolina, and I'm looking forward to introducing you to the people who have made this possible.
When the floodwaters hit these North Carolina shelters and rescues, each of them sprang into action to save animals as they helplessly watched their facilities get destroyed.
The relief of knowing that animals weren't in that shelter was huge. And then by the time we were able to get to the shelter to look at it, we realized, oh, the water was all the way to the roof.
So it's destroyed.
Completely submerged.
At times, these heroes had to leave their own homes and families to make sure animals were safe.
So we had to release all their cattle so they didn't drown. And they had llamas and everything else. So I've never seen anything like it.
Watching it unfold on TV, people around Charleston knew they wanted to help. Charleston Animal Society set up drop-off sites, and more than 3 tons of water, pet supplies, and food were loaded up and driven to Asheville Humane, which served as a hub for distribution to other impacted shelters and rescues.
So it was such an amazing relief whenever we saw that horse trailer pull in that was just packed full of supplies, cat litter, water. It was such a relief to us to know that we had people outside of the Asheville area that had committed to us for the long haul.
In the 7 months since Hurricane Helene hit, these shelters have taken it one day at a time to continue their life-saving work.
And we've already successfully had over 150 adoptions.
So all of the intake happens over there, and then they come over here for adoption.
Oh, okay.
So she's about 2 months here and she's doing fantastic.
Louise was honored to represent Charleston Animal Society's Board of Directors as she presented your donations totaling more than $11,000 to Brother Wolf Animal Rescue, Southern Paws Animal Rescue, and the Asheville Humane Society. Money that will now be used to continue the Hurricane Helene recovery effort for animals.
Thank you.
You're just wonderful.
Well, we appreciate your support. I love my Charleston people, and I survived the storm because of people like you. I mean, I'm blessed.
And thank you so much for everything that the Charleston Animal Society does. Your organization really is a model across the nation for what animal welfare should look like locally and across the country.
We celebrate a true historic milestone. South Carolina is now a no-kill state. Friends, you should hold your head up high, knowing that your efforts, there's that word again, your love and your dedication made this possible. This is a victory for being committed. This is a victory for showing up. This is a victory for giving second chances. It's a testament to what we can achieve when we come together. As we close this 151st annual meeting, you thought we weren't ever going to say those words today, right? I know you guys have work to do. We want you to remember that we are successful. We did this together, but our work is really far from over. Today, though, we rejoice in the power of hope. We rejoice in the power of our strength and community and the unbreakable love we have for all God's creatures. So friends, I say to you, thank you. Thank you so much for your passion. Thank you so much for rising up and doing your part in this journey. We hope you have a beautiful day. There isn't a lot left of it, but that's okay. But we want you to know that we all believe in a world that is better when we are all more compassionate for our animals and people alike. And dare we once again use that word, show love. Thank you.